But no, and my staff, I've got a very efficient staff. Like you said, Ms. Flores, she was with me in my law practice.
Oh, really?
She's been with me about 30 years, and of course, I managed to keep up with my children's birthdays because she'll say, don't forget Javier's birthday is coming up. Don't forget Alejandro's birthday. And so, I managed to stay up to date on that. But in between, we do that. Once I get a chance to get into my chambers, relax for 2-3 minutes, there'll be a knock on the door. There's a police officer who wants you to look at a search warrant. They want a search warrant. So it's going on. And this is all of our 8 judges. We all do the same thing. All 8 courts are going at the same time. During about twice a month, our lunch periods are gone because we have meetings. We have judges meetings. They last from 12 to 1:30, and sometimes longer. But that's a job that we do. And some people think it's an easy job. It's got its pressures, but you can handle it if you know what you're doing.
Well, and like you said, like Ms. Flores has been with you for 30 years now, well over 30, and in your practice. We've looked at the media, your job description, the day-to-day, pressures. The thing that I like to underline on the show too, Your Honor, and if you may permit me, I like to talk about the jury duty part of it. You mentioned the voir dire or the jury selection, which is so important. Many trial lawyers, especially on the civil side, say, and not necessarily true all the time, but they say the jury selection is the most important part of the trial because you're getting a panel on there that sometimes a particular case isn't made for a particular potential juror. And I've heard it before in trials. I've had a couple of trials in front of you, and we've heard some people say, well, I think I would give a policeman's word more weight than the person that's being arrested. If they got arrested, they have had to do something. We've heard those comments. A lot of people don't understand the strike system and how we eliminate people. Sometimes the lawyers jadedly say it's jury deselection, not selection. But can you explain to the people out there that when they have to get that card and they have to report on Monday morning, and like you said, it could be hundreds of people in there, and then you get jurors impaneled. Many people have not sat on a jury. What are they to expect? When especially you're down there sometimes making sure that everybody's going where they need to go up into the courtrooms and things.
Well, once they get into the courtroom, and the voir dire begins. Before that, I come out. I introduce myself, of course, and tell them, anybody needs to go to service, please let us know. We don't want you to feel uncomfortable, number one. Number two is I always tell them there are no right or wrong answers. They're just truthful answers. Whatever the answer, if it's something very private that you do not want to discuss in front of a lot of people, we will take it up in private, the attorneys and with me in the record. And I tell them again that everything that's being said in that courtroom is being recorded and subject to review, so that they know what the grounds are, the perimeters are that they're going to have to be dealing with, Joe. And in selecting juries that, first of all, jurors don't want to be there. It appears that they just don't want to be there. But if you try to make it as comfortable for them as possible, we are lucky in this community that we have a very good turnout for juries. I've never run into a situation where we have not had enough people to sit on all, it's 12, 13 courts. Because, the JP courts do sometimes need them. And our citizens, do their duty, their civic duty of participating in jury selection. And I know there are a lot of people that sometimes have problems. They might have tickets to go out of town, especially around graduation time. Well, Judge, my son is graduating from such and such college, and that's enough. I excuse them because we all want to go see our kids graduate.
Once in a lifetime.
Regardless,
thing.
yes.
Yeah.
And, that's happened in my situation, and I've unfortunately, or fortunately, it wasn't when I had to be in jury selection, but my staff is not exempt from jury selection.
Wow.
We have, everybody knows Hayden Head, our, chief federal judge here, and Jan Jack. They will attend their jury selection. They never ask to get off. They know what it's like. And, it's kind of tough sitting up there and you see the federal judge and,
Right.
I'm not going to excuse you, but they never ask to be excused,
Right.
And the judges are the same way, and you lawyers are the same way. You've been down there before. And, we all know what our obligations are, and we just follow through on it. And that's what makes the system work.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And like I said on the show, Your Honor, I'm glad that we're using your knowledge and your background on that and firsthand knowledge helping out with the jury system, because all of us, we have a very precious constitutional right, and it's a trial by jury,
Right.
and an amount in controversy over $20. We have that amendment, that precious right in our Constitution. And a lot of countries, it's a panel of judges or maybe just one judge that decides your fate. And a lot of the time we forget that we're being judged by our peers. We've got a couple of minutes left before we take the break. Just a quick question. As far as the jury system, what is your opinion or what is your take on the jury system as it's set up right now in Texas? Let me be a little bit more specific. As a judge sitting up there and watching them, and of course both you and I know it's hard on the people that are going to have to be on the jury. I can talk about all the idealism, but the truth is everybody has to get a paycheck. Everybody has to pay their rent. What's your view of the system as it is right now?
Personally, I would not want to change for the simple reason that you might have a person that makes $1 million a year sitting there with a person that makes, $150 a week. And they're both equal. Making a decision as to what is going to happen to that person that they're hearing the evidence from. And the person with making $1 million a year is no different than the person making $20,000 a year. They have the same equality. And as long as we have that in our system, I think we'll always have a fair process in selecting and trying cases.
Well, very well said. And you're listening to Judge Jose Longoria, Nueces County 214th District Court, has been up there on the bench for 8 years, backed up by a quarter century of legal practice. We're going to be taking a break, but when we come back, we want to take this unique opportunity of having Judge Longoria on to ask him about specific cases and break it down a little bit about the criminal system. And we're going to talk about the civil system, and we're going to talk about what our expectations are of that. And following up with our little conversation here too, the very important conversation about jury service, we're going to talk about some cases that will make people's skin crawl, and sometimes they have to be on that jury when we come back.